Alright, so let's get real for a second here. This video, I really want to talk to you about how, the world's kind of like the Matrix, if you ever heard that term, the Matrix, because I think if you're talking about life as a simulation, it's sort of a true, even though it's not literally a simulation like in the movie The Matrix, but the fact that our life has been designed by the system that was rigged by a bunch of people on the top of the food chain, whatever you call it. So I really want to touch topic about there's this crazy, I wouldn't say conspiracy theory. If you knew me, if you are my friend, you probably know that I love conspiracy theory. All right, I love something that reeks of truth, but it's kind of like hidden because there's a message that needs to be sent, and we sort of like need to understand the message. But then people are saying, "Oh, it's just a conspiracy theory because it's not true." Well, is it though? So I really want to talk about money. I really want to talk about how the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and how our system, our our education system are already designed to keep us poor, already designed to make us become a slaves, become a worker. Because hear me out, ever since we were little, ever since we were a little kid, have you ever seen your parents fighting about money? Or if you grew up in my household, for example, like I don't grow up in a rich household. I don't grow up with a lot of money. So I know my parents always fighting over how they cannot afford this, how cannot afford that, and I have to like, oh, you know what, you have to settle for less because I cannot really get you this thing, but I can only get you, a cheaper thing. And when you watch television where the rich men are always portrayed as this evil person, as this evil guy that wants, that's just wants your money or things like that. And even like sometimes my dad keeps telling me like all the rich people will go to hell, and when you are indoctrinated by something like that since early age, I heard that people, I think kids around 1 to 7 years of age, they are very malleable and incept an idea into their brain so they can think, and subconsciously they don't have to really think about it. It's just subconsciously in their mind. It's just subconsciously implanted in their brain, because all of these things that we see on the media, like all the good guys are always poor, but they have a good heart. But all the rich guys are always bad, like all this evil, like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, for example, right? Or I don't know who else. Like there are lots of examples, but that's the point that I want to make. Ever since we were little, we were always taught that money is bad, or like money is scarce, money is hard to come by. So because of that, we grew up thinking that money is always hard to find. You have to like find money, or like you have to struggle to get money, which is totally what the system wants you to think. While people on the top, once you figure out this idea, or once you figure out the matrix, then you start to understand that it isn't true. You start to understand that making money is not that hard. You cannot think that it's hard to make money. You have to think like, hey, money comes to me naturally. I have this gift that I can use, and money will come to me naturally. Money will come easily to me by manifesting that thoughts. You will get rid of that idea where getting money is really hard, or there is this like really funny thing I found on Instagram. Do you know why it's hard for you to make money? Because here it's because we have this subconscious that keep always thinking or like saying things like, oh, I don't have money. You have to say those things like, hey, it's not that I don't have money, but how can I make money? It's just a matter of changing your intonation, changing your narrative, changing the words, and something like, oh, it's so difficult, like how can I make it? And by saying that, you kind of undermine your ability, and you kind of undermine your confidence to actually becoming this like manifesting or like spreading this positive energy and positive view about money. It's almost like when you say, it's so hard to make money. No, you cannot say it's so hard to make money. You have to say positive thing. You can say like, I'm in a process to make more money, and if something, when something you say like, oh, it's so tiring, it's so tiring to make money, you cannot use that negative tone, because your mind doesn't really know. I already talked about this in my previous video. Your mind just doesn't know what's reality, what's real and what's not. So when you say like it's so hard to make money, it means like you're truly believing that it's so hard to make money. But by changing the narrative, by thinking that it's not hard to make money, it's actually, I'm still trying, I'm trying my best to get more money. If you say I cannot do it, you say I can do it, I must be able to do it. And also when you say like it's so tiring, you say like, hey, I know I'm struggling, but I can be strong enough, I can hold on to it, I can just by saying that you cannot do it, it means like you already subconsciously, you're already telling your body, you're already telling your mind or like the universe that you can't actually do it. But if you change the narrative and you say, hey, you know what, making money is so easy for me, and then all of a sudden the universe will start opening up. And if you believe that making money is easy for you, then money will come easy for you, if you get what I mean. So yeah, and when we circle back, to the old revolutionary age, the industrial age, where excuse me, the industrial age where back in the days people are kind of need of workers, So if you date back to the old days, people on the top will always need some workers. People will always need slaves, right? There are masters and there are slaves. That's just the way the world goes. It's yin and yang. It's good and evil. It's black and white. So it's the same with the modern times nowadays. There are people who are on the top, and there are people who are actually on the bottom. The workers, the worker bees, and there are queens that only collecting taxes, or they only take a portion of your money away from the workers, which is us, the middle class. So this is a really rigged system, if you want to believe it. Yeah, so back to my point about school becoming more of a modern slavery is because our school system has already been dated for hundreds of years. I mean, the world has changed, but why does the school system stays the same as it was 100 years ago? It was because it's efficient, it's efficient to create some sort of a worker, to create some sort of worker bees or like slaves, if you might say. They don't really promote free thinking, they don't really promote entrepreneurship, things like that. They only make you follow rules at school. Like, hey, there's a teacher that told you have to do things the certain way. They cannot really tell you what can you do to make things better, or like how can you approach this from a different angle. No, but they always told you this is the only way to do it. And for me, that's sort of like when I was at school, I never really either care about those things or like pay attention about those things, because I feel like it's very restrictive, because I have a lot of things in my mind, I have a lot of ideas, but the school system is just making me fit in the box, like you cannot be creative. That's why I'm a creative now. That's why I become an animator, because I want to break free of that bounding box that the school system had taught us from the early age. And I just want to be a creative. I just want to live life on my own terms, and it's not that I am a rebel or anything like that. It's just because I read a lot. I read a lot of books. Ever since when I was a kid, I always read a lot of books, all right? And Charles Bukowski said, this is really an irony, because when you read a lot of books and when you know too much, sometimes you become this, I wouldn't say woke beings, but you sort of understand things that most people don't know. And you sort of like, your brain is sort of like open up to all these ideas that a lot of these people are saying, which is completely true. And if more and more people are saying, if more and more people are saying that it's true, then how can you say it's not? If you know what I mean. You know, a lot of this author, a lot of these books already telling you the same thing. And who are you to tell them that what they're saying is wrong, you know? And we were kind of forced to fit into the school system that already rigged in the first place. And all these books are just teaching us how to break free from that chain, from that mindset. Yeah, so one of the other things that I always also think about is how, if you want to compare it to the American dream, you know what is an American dream? What is the American dream? The American dream means you own a house, like you pay taxes, you become a good abiding citizen, and
the only thing standing between the American
create a family.
dream.
The bigger the better.
American dream.
And then you're gonna live happily ever after. For me, that's the dumbest thing ever, because owning a house is not only gonna set you up for, like, it almost like a 30 years contract, which you need to keep paying the bank, all right, for the amount, a ridiculous amount of money, which we don't really gonna get out of it. And for me, I mean, owning a home, yeah, for some people owning a home is a dream, but for me, owning a home is more of like a liabilities. If you know Robert Kiyosaki and his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, you start to understand why owning a house is a liabilities, because when you stay in that house is not an asset. It's not producing money. You're just wasting money because it's a liabilities. And some of the mortgages can go up to like 3K, like 4K, and that's ridiculous amount of money that you have to pay every month, right? Compared to renting, which is probably a fraction of that amount. I rent for like 1,500K. It's not that much, but I can live in a decent house. Like I get the gas, I get the heater on, I get everything I ever needed, like electricity and all that stuff. But I'm not paying a crazy amount of money, if you get what I mean. Yeah, I know house is very sentimental, but then again, if we're talking about how the rig system sets you up for 30 years, means you have to keep paying for 30 years, which is a really long time. But when you invest that money into something else, into business, into maybe something that you are interested in, or like your asset means if you own a house, then you have to rent that house to someone else, and that house will make you money, a passive income. That's how you call assets, but you don't live in that place, all right? If you live in that place, means like it's a liability for you. So some of these things, like the American dreams, it's very adamant, like a lot of people always promote it, like you have to own a house. I mean, we're gonna help you set up your new first home and things like that. For first home buyers, we're gonna give you a discount and things like that. It's something that lures you into getting it. And who are the target here? The target is people who cannot actually afford that mortgage, you know. So it's really funny to me to think about this sort of system is real. You know, the craziest thing is that all these banks, they're giving you a hefty interest, like a really ridiculous interest that if you are failing to make the payment, they're gonna come for everything you got. You know, they're gonna come for everything you got. They're gonna take your money away. They're gonna do this and do that stuff. So you have to keep paying them, otherwise you're gonna lose everything. So that's the real crazy thing about it. And you already locked up for another 30 years if you're not careful about it. So almost 95% of your life is based on your subconscious programming, right? Based on your subconscious mind. So imagine this: when you were a child and you were presented with this idea about money being evil, and this idea about, you know, you don't talk about money because it's always a negative tone. Your parents never discuss money with you and things like that because it's so sensitive. I think that's really undermining our ability to think thoroughly and our ability to think clearly about what's actually what money really is. When you are presented with that idea, what do you think you're gonna grow up with? You're gonna grow up thinking that money is scarce, money is hard to come by, and it's so hard to be rich, and it's a struggle to get money, you know, because when I was growing up, I might be thinking it's so difficult, it must be so difficult to be rich, you know, it must be so difficult to get rich, and I don't want to be that rich guy, because if I become rich, then I might go to hell, you know. That kind of subconscious programming is always with me ever since until probably like in my 20s or something. So I never really think money through, or even wanting to have a lot of money because of it. So that's another thing that will keep you poor, because you don't even want to get rich, right? But it's sort of changed after I read a lot of books. Again, I read a lot of books. So all these books are teaching me, like they're telling me that whole thing was actually a rigged system that keeps you poor. So in order for you to get better, in order for you to break free of that chain, is to actually learn about money, what money actually is. And by learning all this stuff, you start to understand, hey, it's actually not really hard to be rich, you know. All you need to do is to do this. There's a step-by-step to do it, and there's this manifestation, and you have to change your programming first. That's the first thing you need to do. You have to change your programming, thinking that getting money is hard. Getting money is easy, and money will come to you naturally. And you also, if anybody can do it, you can also do it. You can become rich too. You know what I mean? So by changing that programming, I believe all of us can become better, and we wouldn't be too scared with this idea of money being evil, or like being destructive or anything like that. If you know how to utilize your money without being slave to it, then you will live a happy life. You will live a rich life, which nowadays everything requires money. Even when you want to do your hobbies, or like want to do things that interest you, it requires money. It costs money to do so. So money is really crucial in life. And why don't you want to have more money, right? Of course you want to have more money. Everybody does. So by changing that subconscious mind, by changing that subconscious narrative, then you will start to become better, and then you will start to get more money because of it. So I really want to end this video with a message to you that no matter what they told you, what matters is what's in your head. If you know your worth, if you know your knowledge, no matter what, you can always get it back. You can always, this is priceless, okay? Like what's in your head is priceless. So I want you to challenge that idea, and I want you to maybe get into a little bit of a perspective of other people who already made it, like some rich people like Warren Buffett or Robert Kiyosaki, for example. Even people like Andrew Tate. You gotta learn from them. You gotta learn from people who already made it. Then only then you start to understand how to become this being that is not afraid of money. So yeah, so I really wanna tell you that, and I believe that each and every one of us deserve a good life, deserve a good money, and not being afraid of money being evil and things like that. So yeah, break free of that chain. Don't be a slave. Be the master of your own fate. And I believe you. Things will get better in the end. All right? That's it. That's a bit serious talk this time around, but I hope you stick around because I want to talk about a lot more stuff, conspiracy theories and things like that. So I love that shit. All right, stay tuned, and I catch you later. Bye.